Hello everyone, Shayna Ashley here. In this video, you're going to get to see my drawing process as I speed sketch through my upcoming fan art piece for the anime Fire Force. I will be doing this entirely in Photoshop, and I'm also going to have a little bit of an anatomy lesson for you. Nothing too big, really just the basics, but a couple tricks for you as well. So let's get started. I always start with a few thumbnail sketches to establish options for myself regarding the composition of the piece. I also try to break it down to the elemental shape components of the image. So for this one, it's do I want this shape or that one? And I did these in my sketchbook because I haven't moved past that yet. You saw it here, folks. This is actually the first time I've ever drawn line art in Photoshop. And I did these in my sketchbook because I haven't moved past that yet. I decided to switch over, not only so that you can see how I draw, but because I end up doing so many edits to the line work when I upload it from an image that it saves me some time to do it this way. The only reason I hadn't done this in the past was because, as I said before, I am trained as a traditional artist, so that's just what I'm used to. I did these in my sketchbook because I haven't moved past that yet. You saw it here, folks. This is actually the first time I've ever drawn my line art all in Photoshop. And I decided to switch over not only so that you can see how I draw, but because I end up doing so many edits to the line work when I upload it from an image that it saves me a bunch of time to do it this way. And the only reason I haven't done it in the past is because, as I said before, I'm trained as a traditional artist, so that is what I'm used to. You will see I almost always lay out the anatomy of the characters before I draw them in clothing. This is important because it ensures that the body will look right when the line is finished. I might make it look easy, but this is due to like hundreds of hours that I have devoted to anatomy. And that's not an exaggeration. If you want to be fluid with your drawing skills, you just simply have to practice over and over and over and over and over again. In school, they have us draw from medical references showing the muscles and the bones and their range of motion for each part of the body, which does really help you remember and understand how we move as humans. And drawing from life is important too. There isn't just one body type in the whole multitude of variations displayed in life. Like, humans are always unique as far as faces and hands and just pretty much every little detail. However, we all do have the same basic proportions. So for example, the head ratio. If you look at the human figure, all human figures are, well, the adult human figure is about 7 or 6.5 heads tall. So the first one is from the chin to the nipple area.
The second is from the nipple to the navel, and then the navel to the groin area.
And beyond that, it's, fulfilling the rest of the legs.
So you can use this measurement to determine where in the figure you should place certain body parts.
And that's much easier when obviously you're looking at a figure dead on, but I have a couple tricks to be able to draw the figure from basically any position. For example, as I said, we all have the same basic proportions, and proportionately, your body's so equal. So the distance from your wrist to your elbow is the same distance, the same size as one head. And that's the same distance as the top part of your arm from your elbow to your shoulders. And that's also the same distance for the size of your feet. So the size of your head is the size of your feet, and the size of your face is the size of your hands. And just so on and so forth. There's so many little tricks that you can do for drawing any aspect, really, of the body. But like I said, for example, doing Vulcan, and he's a muscly man, and I just really am roughly laying it out because, again, this is just a sketch. So I'm not going to murder myself about getting everything right. I just want to lay it in there. And there is something kind of nice to the sketch quality. It's got an organic feel to it. And this is where you can really see kind of my style. Like the way that I just drew Captain Obi's face, that's like how I draw guys if I'm not looking at anything. But that's okay, because again, I'm going to go in with each character's reference and I'm going to make that look a lot better. I also have another tip for anatomy along the lines of drawing the figure from multiple different positions. The shoulder, as you can see on Shinra right there, the shoulder line, the angle in between the two shoulders, if you reverse that horizontally, the opposite is going to be the position through the hips. So your body supports itself, right? And the way that your shoulder blades move and your pelvic bone articulates, it's always going to be lined up. So if you're doing your shoulders one way, you just reverse that, and that's where you place the hips. If you did it the other way, where you had like the hip up and the shoulder up, it would look really stupid, I think. It would be like all scraggly. But yeah, so that's another little tip. I'm going to start doing the line art. Again, not committing fully to the placement of these lines because I will go in and adjust it when rendering. But once I'm done with this, I can remove the sketch quality layer and be left with cleaner lines so that I can start to color. I'll also be adjusting sort of the position of things to make it more anatomically correct. For example, I wanted more of an arch on Shinra. And to do that, I, moved his leg a little up, and I know that I have to be tweaking things with his head. One of the things I really like in Fire Force is that, well, it took a little bit. I had to grow into it, but some of the characters have icons in their eyes relating to something that the character does. So Princess Hibana, her power is that she can produce flowers and plants, well, fire in the form of flowers and plants, and then she uses those things to attack, which is pretty cool. When you see it, it looks very nice. So in her eyes, she's got flowers, which gives a really cool silhouette when you're seeing more of a serious tone to the character, and it's a harsh silhouette with just the icons flashing and a dark figure. It looks sharp. With her, I'm having issues with her hands, particularly the one holding her fan. The way that I had initially drawn it, the anatomy doesn't work with my sketch. Her wrist wouldn't be able to fit that way, so I'm going to come back to that. Starting on Arthur, he will have this sword in between his eyes, but I'm going to go ahead and do that later. It's a glowing, what kind of, it's like a laser. No, they call it something. Plasma. He's got a glowing plasma sword. So I won't be putting a line on that. I'll just do that with color. Now we're going to be getting into the semi-repetitious drawing of everybody's uniforms. Not really. I mean, not all the characters. They differentiate themselves. That's one of the good things. But I do really like how everything glows in this show, which is just really cool because it's selective focus that you're having your audience see. You can just highlight certain things, and while this show does have amazing background detail, like fantastic, you don't need to show as much if everything's dark. And the way that you can make your figures pop is by giving them these glowing pieces to their uniform, which draws the eye's attention and also just looks sick. I'm having a really hard time not talking about the anime. As you can see, I will be doing more of an opinionated review on all the characters and such when we get into the larger segment, which is going to be part 2 of this video where I start to paint. We'll have more time to spend together, but for now, I'm just going to be focusing as much as I can on the line art. So Iris's hands there, you can see I roughly blocked it in, and I don't have to anymore. Well, not all the time unless it's giving me particularly a rough go. I don't have to do all of the metacarpal anatomy before I can draw hands. And that is just from repetition and practice. Hands are one of my favorite things to draw, actually. I'm not really sure why. They're very complicated, but they flow into an arch. The knuckle bones and the metacarpal joint bones of your hands and your fingertips, they're all in a nice arc, and once you establish or can determine that on your reference picture, it's very easy to draw hands. Just break everything down to basic components, and then again, after drawing about 10,000 of them, you'll get it down. I'm not saying I'm a master at hands, but I do have a very comfortable with drawing hands. I like feet too. Not like that. Not like, I'm not into feet. I'm into drawing feet, okay? Maki is ripped. She's ripped, so she's gonna get some muscle on her. And I got a little sputter. I chose to do Vulcan with his headpiece because in my other thumbnail sketch I had it where he was placed in between Shinra's Adola burst flame and some smoke, and I thought that looked so striking. So I'm still going to insert that into this image. The fire will be behind him, and then there'll be some smoke to his right, so he's going to be a little more isolated in his framing, but it's going to look really cool with his ram skull head helmet, protective face wear. I don't know, it's for when he's forging stuff. Blacksmithing helm. There you go. His goat/ram blacksmithing helm. Inawa. I didn't have as much respect for this character until I saw him in the ending of season 1. Before, I just thought he was kind of, and I don't know if this makes sense, a pencil? He's kind of like a pencil. He's like sharp and straight and totally vanilla, and a good backstory to him, but it kind of uses his backstory to explain why Maki is in Company 8. But he really impressed me with his battle in the end of season 1. Captain Obi has got to be one of my favorite characters simply for his morals, I think. He makes me feel so safe and reassured, and he's just a great guy. And he's got those eyes like Steiner has from Final Fantasy IX. Well, minus the beautiful eyelashes. And also Zenigata from Lupin the Third.
I love those two characters. Personality-wise, he does not. He does not behave like those two characters, but I'm just saying his jaw structure and his eyes remind me of that, which is essentially just a very powerful figure, strong. And here I am, I'm going into the characters again, trying to not do that. I'm glad that I decided to have his helm in his hand instead of on his face, because he's a better silhouette with it on, but you can't see that much of his face, so. All right, last attempt for the sketch, for this bit before I start rendering. I'm gonna try and do something. You know what, forget it. I'm just gonna do this while I paint. It'll be much easier to make the shape work with color, and then I can go in and fix it, so. That's the basic line work minus the background, which I will do when I'm rendering.
And there we have it. This image is not going to be the final line art for my piece. I will go and individually tweak every character as I focus on rendering them. For example, Shinra, I'm really not happy yet with how his head looks, but that's fine. I have enough progress now to start rendering the image. In the next video, I will be showing you my speed paint of this piece in completion and how I get to that point. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And my name is Shayna Ashley. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.